Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Berardi and Cook from the Ought to Know Better podcast. I'm joined this evening by James in the top left corner and the lovely Evie making her debut on Berardi and Cook this evening. I'm going to roll an intro and I think we might as well get straight into it, guys.
Hi, this is Don Matteo and you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
Leeds are shit.
We're recording, you know.
Oh, shit.
We're the good start. I don't think we've got the personnel.
You can fucking laugh all you want, you absolute fella.
I think about things, that's why you lot are idiots.
A melted version of a dick that's been shrink wrapped. The absolute elite shithousery of this.
The best part about that intro is still you looking very wet and miserable on both your clips. I don't know why. I don't know where.
I hate how I look in that intro.
From the depths of our library, pulled those from, I have no idea. But still.
Early doors, early doors.
All the same. Hello, everyone in the comments. Get your comments in. This is the Thursday therapy show, I suppose, if want of a better word. Let us know what you thought of the game last night. And, of course, we are here to talk about the last night's absolute travesty. Jay, what was your prediction initially? Firstly, what did you expect it to be last night before we actually get into it?
So I gave it a 3-1 in the predictions, and I thought it was going to be a tough game. They'd be hard to break down. They'd probably score because they'd have that home crowd behind them, and they're a bit crackers down there.
Yeah, aren't they?
But the quality would show. We'd come through. We'd take control. We'd boss the game. That's what I expected.
Evie, what was your prediction?
I honestly thought a draw if, I wasn't that hopeful simply because It's Millwall, it's London, it's Wednesday night, all of these kind of factors. And, I had a nosy in the fact of obviously they were like one of the most, and I think now the most informed team in the league.
Yeah.
All of these things just didn't, it didn't look great for us. My only slight hope was that obviously we got a result there last season, getting 3-0. So I thought, maybe the Millwall curse is broken. Alas, that was short-lived. Yeah.
Just a smidge. Apparently, the last time we, apart from last season, the last time we won down there was 2012 or 2013, I think.
You know why, though, don't you, Smarty? You know why?
Bring it up.
We're in London. That's the fucking difference.
And that was the difference. So, Jay, give me your thoughts, mate. What went wrong? Why didn't we absolutely trounce these southern shithouses? Why didn't we win 3-1 or 2-1 or what everyone else was, majorly predicting last night? What went wrong?
I don't know where to start. I'm still upset about it. Like, that game really pissed me off. And normally, at this stage now, and this kind of happened for me after that playoff final, I would just like, fuck it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll still go to games. We'll still have a beer. We'll still have a laugh most of the time. But then you start getting a bit caught up in it again, don't you? And you start thinking, everyone's banging on about how good we are. We're 8 games unbeaten. We're on a run, even though we've not played well at times. And then you go there and you play like that. And it's just... I've had the wind taken out of my sails, mate. I'm just, I'm like a rudderless vessel right now, just drifting through my day in a bad mood with people and just generally being pissed off.
You do, yeah, that, don't you? You wear your heart on your sleeve.
I do, yeah. And I had a little discussion with Luke in the pod chat about it, and he wasn't having any of it. He put up stats to say, it were great, it were fine, blah blah blah. I've got to say, stats without context, here he is. Stats without context can mean anything. And having looked at it and seen that we had 75 or 70% possession and had 0.85 XG, that's appalling. That's absolutely appalling in a team with the talent that we've got. That's outrageous. And that just made me angrier, to be fair.
We're all about possession, though, aren't we? And we'll go into it a little bit. One thing I will address actually is that Luke's been playing around in the background over the last day or so, and you may have seen that he's decided to add super chats to our And I don't know what the hell it is, so don't start asking me why anyone would want to pay £1.99. I think that's probably way too high. I thought he'd set it at like three pence or something.
Yeah,
so that needs sorting. But here he is. Jay knows F all, only knows about ironing. And he's not even right good at that, are you, Jay?
I'm not, though.
I've seen some of your clothes.
I'm really not.
So yeah, I mean, obviously you've been scoffing a little bit at the people saying that they're the informed team, Jay. Why are you finding that so hard to swallow?
I'm annoyed that we've given them that victory last night.
But we've only just played them. They were the informed team before we played them.
Oh, I know, but we've made it official now. They've taken our scalp, haven't they? That buck-toothed bastard on the sidelines. And, he's just fucking, defend, fucking get stuck in, lads, get some jelly deals, but in a Cockney accent. And then you've got that fucking ref that were useless. Every time somebody fell over, he's fucking blowing whistle. Disrupted our play numerous times. It was just a shit house. I wanted to call him something then that would get us cancelled, but I won't. It was a shit house.
Yeah, don't be going that far. The ref did give quite a lot of soft decisions last night. Evie, what are your thoughts on the game? Obviously you didn't expect us to go down and get a win, knowing that obviously it's quite tough for us down at the Den. But what were you expecting before kick off? Were you expecting them to sit in so deep as they did, or were you expecting them to be more on the front foot?
No, I was expecting exactly what we got in terms of Millwall have we had such a defined sense of and style under Bielsa, and Millwall do as well. It's just not attractive, but they do that low block, make everything just dirty and keep the ball out of play for the longest amount of time that you possibly can. They do it game after game after game, and it keeps them in the Championship. And it kind of keeps them at a mid-table Championship club basically forever. They'll probably never get relegated, and they'll probably never get promoted. So they're just, when you think of Championship, you think of Millwall, and they did their tactics to an absolute T. And I do think we have to acknowledge that it wasn't just that we were poor, it was that Millwall did their game plan incredibly well. They were so well drilled, and they're so big that for me, obviously the corner situation, we don't have tall people. So why we have to go over the top of people when it's just not going to reach anybody anyway? Just do short corners, just do low corners on the floor. Obviously, the best one was the one that Firpo ended up air kicking. That was probably the best corner of the evening. But we went low, they're not great with their feet. They're big, they're physical, but they're not technical players in terms of Millwall. So we should have been playing to the more technical aspects that they couldn't defend. They can defend high set pieces. They're incredibly good at it.
Yeah,
and they can score.
Sort of move, yeah.
Exactly. So I was slightly disappointed in terms of team selection as well. I would have chosen Joseph instead of Pirro because I think he is better when it comes to... I think Pirro would have got a goal yesterday had Joseph started. I'm not saying that Joseph would have got a goal, but he would have knackered their defenders out a lot more. Pirro's very static and a bit of a luxury player almost in games like that when you just need to get the job done. And I think Joseph is probably... I actually thought Bamford was better out of the two of them when Joseph came on last night with Bamford. And I'm not a huge Bamford person, but he looked slightly... He's spent longer in the Championship. He's played Millwall multiple times for multiple clubs as well. So for me, even if he'd have been okay, I'd have probably even started Bamford over Pirro last night. I think... For me, it's different players for different games. And for me, you needed a Bamford or a Joseph type player to start and then bring Pirro on and then he can score.
I've always been an advocate for not changing a team based on the previous performances. If it's if you've got a winning team, you don't change it for me. After last year and after being so severely 100% on that sort of opinion. I've kind of changed my way of thinking this year, because I'm very much of the thinking that, you know, we should be looking to adapt. We should be looking to change our front lines, etc., to suit those sort of teams. When I've thought about it, you know, the teams that, I mean, Millwall last year were terrible, you know, but they played more openly and they tried to play actual football last year. We beat them convincingly in both games. This year, they've gone back to the old school Millwall way of playing, you know, the old school way that Burnley used to play. Shit house away and sit deep and hit people on the counter. You know, those teams that is their bread and butter, we always seem to struggle against. Now, the teams that sort of style of play isn't the sort of bread and butter sort of way that they play, i.e. your Plymouths last weekend, you know, your Sheffield Uniteds. You know, many streams or many comments that I saw was that Plymouth changed their style of play completely to suit Leeds United. Sheffield United, Wilder came out after, you know, in his post-match and said, I looked at how Southampton beat Leeds last season, and I tried to adapt and I tried to change it to suit more that style. We beat both teams convincingly because they're not used to playing that kind of football. But it seems that when we play a shithousey kind of team like that, we just really struggle. I mean, typically we would normally play okay, but last night we were just so sloppy in possession. There were individuals making mistakes all over the place. And like you said, Jay, where do you even start talking? I mean, really, there weren't many players that could kind of say, yeah, I had a decent game. I mean, Tanaka, no. even he made a few, you know, mistakes or whatever. You know, but yeah, about Bamford pulling, you know, that's the sort of thing that he does in it. And you know, people will bash Bamford. I'm certainly one of them, or I have been in the past. You know, not necessarily for his fish. I said nearly said fishing. For his fishing, he's not Raoul Moat.
He might be better at fishing.
Take a fishing rather than a cooked chicken. No, not his fishing. His finishing's absolutely shite, but his movement off the ball, you know, which is something obviously Matteo Joseph brings to the team as well. You know, it's good. So, but I don't really. What would you change? With hindsight, Jay, what would you have changed last night? I mean, obviously, we haven't spoken about the substitutions or anything really in depth yet. But, you know, with hindsight, what would you have changed last night? Would you have brought some players on earlier?
I mean, it's easy to sort of look back now at it and say stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe Gilavugi could have started if he were fit enough and been more of a midfield presence in there to stick a boot in and sort them out a bit, let them know he's there, sort of thing. That's what they like. That's what they need. So, absolutely, Johnny, absolutely. But yeah, maybe put him in if he'd been fit. But then you'd probably have to take Rothwell out because Tanaka you can't really drop. And we don't know how that would have worked out. But could it have gone any worse? Probably not. And then maybe Joseph instead of Pirro. But personally, I would have chosen to start Pirro. So I'd be saying that purely with hindsight, do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be something I would have actually done beforehand. Why would you start Pirro? There were a lot of people saying that, you know, starting Joseph might be better for that sort of team. From last night, yeah. Beforehand, we all kind of thought that we would. I mean, naively, I hadn't seen how Millwall were playing this year. I assumed that they were playing more kind of expansive, sort of attacking football. How wrong I was, obviously. But yeah, I think a lot of people were wanting Joseph to start over Pirro. I mean, for me, it's with the sort of runs he goes on with his goals and stuff, he's due another one, isn't he? So I kind of felt he might get one. I felt like he had it in him. And he almost did. Yeah. I'd like to know whether he was actually offside because I've not actually seen it back properly since. Because the replays shown on TV were terrible. Yeah, the camera angle wasn't the best either. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, he was. He was.
It was like playing.
It would a fair bit off. It wasn't like playing a knife edge sort of, you know, by your sleeve, the edge of your sleeve sort of thing. You were a fair bit off. It was like playing FIFA and you accidentally change the camera angle partway through and you're like, shit, you know, want to change it back, but you're at the mercy of the bloody TV, aren't you? Yeah. Yeah, another on the moon sort of. I don't know what it is with these bloody, you know, these southern sort of stadiums. Like they've got chuffing cameramen on roof at bloody stadium. What's going on? Where's all the close shots? We've seen places before, haven't we, where they have like a scaffold with a platform at the top when you're in like League One and stuff. Yeah, literally above the roofs. Some guy with about 4 coats on because it's pissing me down. Got a white lens every 5 minutes. Trying not to get blown away. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, I mean, quite a few people are blaming that there's no creative midfield, etc. You know, obviously that we're playing quite narrow and that we didn't utilise our wingers as much. Any of that really ring true with you, Evie? Do you want to comment on the style about how we were trying to attack the final third?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Nonto wasn't at his best, and I think that's been a few games now. And I've got, nothing against Nonto. I think he's almost trying too hard in terms of, I think if he genuinely just takes a deep breath and tries to get out of his own head, I think he would be better. But he was quite frustrating, but we weren't utilising James that well. And again, I think James would work better with a Joseph, with a number 9 that's going to read the game a bit better than Pirro does and be able to keep up with Dan James's speed. Pirro can't keep up with Dan James's speed. So whenever he got the chance to cross a ball in, there was nobody there because, Joseph can keep up with, not as fast, obviously. Yeah. I don't think anybody's as fast as Dan James, but like Pirro is like running in treacle a lot of the time. But in terms of the wingers, yeah, we seem to funnel it, and it goes very, I don't like to say his name, but like Jesse Marsh-esque kind of thing, where we go down the middle and forget that, we do have kind of wings that we can go down. But I actually thought Farke was a better winger last night than Nonto was. I thought he offered more attack than Nonto did. There's a few shots that he just, I don't know, he just seems to be in his own head, and I think he's getting in his own way type of thing. He's making the wrong decisions right at the very kind of point where we need him to keep his head and make the right decision. Because I do think that we were missing that kind of speed in terms of pace. When you look at, I think it was the opening goal against Millwall last year, where we had that, they were on a break for us, and I think it was Rutter intercepted it, got it, and 4 passes, we were up the pitch. Yeah. And, I thought Rothwell was unlucky to be the first one substituted as well, in terms of I'd have taken Aronson off, because Rothwell seemed to be the only player that was willing to pass it further than kind of 5 yards. He did a few balls over the top, and because they're so big and bulky at Millwall, you have to be able to get it free in terms of, if you just skip the middle of the park out and get, cross the ball, over for Dan James to run on, you've missed out that entire midfield, and all of a sudden you're, in their box kind of thing. And I don't think we utilised that as well. And when we took him off, there was nobody else who was willing to do those kind of passes. And I agree with Jay. I would have liked to see Gilavogi on last night at some point, because
just to do a bit of bullying himself.
Yeah, basically just
get a big lad on.
Just screw him over a bit, just kind of as well set pieces. We when we brought a couple of taller lads on, we then stopped putting in the balls for people to head in.
Well, we took the best set piece taker off, didn't we?
Yeah, it just, I don't know. That for me is Farke's kind of kryptonite, is changing a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Solomon's corner was like a hark back to the old Leeds corners.
Well, when Aronson and Harrison were stood over him and just couldn't beat the first man.
With the 2 arms and stuff.
Yeah. Do you think, I mean, obviously, with the attack from, differences between this year and last year, I find that, we attacked with a bit more, like you've already said, a bit more direct speed, but we've obviously lost Somerville, we've lost Rutter, and that kind of attacking, we've not really seen a right lot from Solomon, and Dan James is still kind of coming back into the team and stuff. Willie Nonto's really the talisman of the whole team at the minute. Do you think that the pressure of obviously, having such a good performance against Plymouth and then going down and trying to get a result at Millwall, do you think that pressure might be playing on his mind a little bit, that he has to perform and maybe he's trying too hard, like you've already said, or are we thinking a bit too much into it? Do you think like a lot of the play was rushed, like snapping? I mean, a lot of the crossing was really poor last night.
The passing was really bad. Everybody's first touch was heavy, and we just couldn't seem to trap it, which obviously worked perfectly into Millwall's hands of breaking up the ball and just limiting the amount of free-flowing chances that we had. And I think that we just needed a little bit more composure, and even to slow it down to then speed it back up again, if that makes sense, in terms of I think we were trying to overthink how do we get past this block, instead of just kind of taking a breath and just saying, right, let's use, what players do we have on the pitch? Okay, we've got somebody who can cross the ball, do a great diagonal cross. Let's go that way and try it, see. We seem to do that twice and then not really do it again, So as soon as something didn't work, we just stopped doing it. And then we just got this floundering around where we just passed the ball back and forth and back and forth. And for me, we missed Rutter for the first time this season, in terms of somebody who's creative but also physical. Aronson isn't super creative and he's not super physical. He's very annoying in terms of I would hate to play against him, but he can't barge people away like Rutter could last season. And
I miss that big beautiful guy.
Yeah.
He did bring a lot more to his game than Aronson. We did discuss this on the pod last weekend, and a lot of people have written Georgie off, saying that Aronson's probably more suited to the role, which he may or may not be. He's probably open for a debate. We probably didn't cover it enough on the podcast on Tuesday. But like you say, for me, I think using Aronson and Pirro together, there's too much. Like you say, it's too slow. There seems to be a bit of a lethargic build-up of play, whereas before, like last season, it were more snappy, it were quicker. Not right away, obviously, because right at the start of last season, we weren't firing on all cylinders at all. And to be fair, we have only played a certain. We're not even a third of the way through the season. This now. So players still are finding the form. Obviously, we are suffering with injuries, etc. Ramazani arguably is, maybe as good, if not better, performing slightly better than Nonto at the minute. Certainly not now, obviously, because he's crocked. But I think we're missing that sort of creative spark and something like you say that could just take the game by the scruff of the neck. But again, it all falls down to that's exactly what Millwall want. They set up to stop that happening, and they succeeded. Evie, you've already said, they did an absolute job on us.
Yeah.
But Jay, do you think that if this is the blueprint to beat Leeds United, obviously, set up that low block and look to counter it, why aren't more teams doing it? Why is it only the ones that have done it for so long? Obviously, like I've said before, Sheffield United tried to employ them sort of tactics. It didn't work for them. Plymouth tried to do the same. They went 6 at the back. It didn't work for them. Obviously, they're lacking in a lot of quality. And then Burnley, they kind of struggled. They scored from a mistake from us. Is it a blueprint really, or is it just do we see too many or not enough teams try to adapt their style of play to suit that kind of? Because that's basically the only way that teams win against us. If they go toe to toe with us, we tend to beat them.
I think it's more like you said, teams that don't really do it week in, week out. When they try to do it, it doesn't work. Teams that do it week in, week out, we always struggle against. Look at Stoke last season. That Wednesday night game where we got beat. And it was the first time Gruev played, and everyone said, "Oh, he's shit. We can't have him play again. It's terrible." It's just we struggle against those kind of teams and midweek away games for some reason. It's like the corners thing. How numerous different managers over the years, numerous different players. Until recently, we still took the same corner. Couldn't beat the first man every time. Didn't matter who the boss was. Didn't matter who the players were. The same thing with midweek away games. We struggle regardless of who's there, and I don't understand why. It's like some kind of muscle memory thing that's like handed down through players as like new ones come in, they get infected with it, and it just passes through.
I always used to arc it back to the First World War when they just used to send wave and waves of men over the wall. It's probably going to be different this time, lads. You're on the verge of absolute madness, aren't you?
You're like
doing the exact same thing and expecting a completely different result.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't understand what the struggle is, but there's something in there, and that has to fall at the manager's feet. I'm not a Farke out person, as I've said before. I still think he's probably... Go on.
Well, would either of you like to address Arthur Bushby's comment where he says Sam Allardyce would have got us up last season?
He wouldn't, because we'd have had a shite team. Half the players would have gone. He wouldn't have used Somerville properly.
He wouldn't have used Rutter. He already dropped him. He didn't like him. So Rutter was our main creative spark last year. Like, we didn't have last year the team for set pieces. So, and Sam Allardyce is again another 4-4-2 set piece, low block. We don't have those players. So no, that's a farcical thing to say.
That might be in shit take of the week, that, Arthur.
I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion out there. He's definitely not happy with Farke. How much do we pin it on Farke this game, or is it more down to the players?
I was sort of mid-flow, so I'll pick up where Ian Ward's come in here and said it's a mentality thing, Jay. That's exactly what I was going to say. For me, that's something the manager has to coach out of him with his staff, and that's obviously not happening. I was saying, I'm not a Farke out person. I still think that he's probably the best option we've got at this level. Maybe not the best manager out there, but the best at this level that we're going to get. So we're stuck with him as it is. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's fucking dire. It just is what it is. My biggest bugbear with it all is the side-to-side passing in the defence. Like, even when we're in, like, stoppage time at the end of the first half and the second half, we were going sideways instead of forward. And it drives me up the fucking wall. I get that's his style. His patient possession, build up, look for an opportunity, don't rush, It don't work in all circumstances, and he never adapts it, he never changes the game plan. You would think at that stage of the game, chasing like that, when you pretty much bang on to lose because there's no time left, it's just all hands to the pump, get forward. It doesn't matter if you lose by 1 or 2 at that point. You know what I mean? You've got to be trying to score a goal till the end, and under Bielsa we would have been. And I hate to go back there, as we always do when anything goes wrong. But, it's what you think, isn't it? You want to see the team just going at it when time's running out. You don't want to see them going side to side, back to Melier, stat padding so they can back Luke's stats up because they've done 600 passes to each other, between the defence. It drives me.
But why are they passing it around the defence so much?
Because that's what they've been told to do.
Yeah, but with what sort of end result though?
He wants them to do that until something opens up in front of them.
Yeah, it's supposed to draw the attack.
In stoppage time,
they're
not coming forward.
So the only reason I asked you that, I mean, obviously I knew why that was happening, but I saw a stat not so long back that Leeds seem to play better or are more efficient in an attacking sense when they aren't having their larger share of the possession. Mm-hmm. So I was speaking to someone today and I said, for me, knowing, because clearly, obviously, Farke will have known much more than us about the style and the way that Millwall play or have been playing this season. Knowing what he knew, presumably, at what point do you think, right, they're obviously just going to sit back and they're going to take wave after wave after wave of shit crosses and snapshots, etc., from outside the box. At what point do we give them the ball? Purposefully give them the ball and sit back off them and invite the pressure onto us? We've got one of the best defences in the league. We've got 2 very, very capable central midfielders. We've got some really, really good defenders. Invite them kind of those sort of defensive teams onto us, because that's not their style of play. Invite the pressure onto us and counter them in an equal sort of way. Why are we not doing that sort of thing? And it goes, and I understand why people are getting pissed off with Farke, because if numpties like me can be thinking that, which people may agree with, but may not agree with. I don't know that much about football. I'm just a typical fan. But if I can think of these sort of, game players or whatever, why isn't a manager that who's got teams promoted twice out of this championship? Or is he just so set in his ways that he doesn't want to adapt his style? He doesn't want to bring players on before 60, 70 minutes? How far into the season do we start to really, really question Farke and go, actually, hold on a minute, we're going down the same garden path here. We're going to end up, either missing out on the top 2 again, or we're going to be in the playoffs again. How far do you think it's going to be before the fans properly turn on him?
I'll let Evie take this one.
I thought you might do. Thanks, he's properly ducked out of that one, hasn't he? He's thrown you under the bus. She's praying for internet to go off now.
Well, I always talk too much, so
Come on,
just be stuck there.
Come on, hamster.
Just pull it plug out at the wall. Fucking. Go on.
Well, I get the point in terms of the turning the tactics round and kind of giving them the ball, but that's the same thing in terms of that we're not used to that. He coaches possession-based football, so by giving them the ball, that's also them potentially putting us in a weaker situation because we are so drilled to have the ball and to protect the ball that actually sometimes we can look desperate in terms of defence. Yes, we have the strongest defence, most clean sheets, etc., but that is mainly because of the fact that we have the ball so often. So if you then go turn around and give another team, we actually don't know how well we cope for long periods of time without the ball. So if you were to turn around and say, well, in fact, then let's sit off them and let's do a kind of a low block to them and allow them to come on to us, we don't actually know how we would deal with that pressure because that's not the way that Farke has coached these players for the last year and a half.
Well, we do a little bit. Now, if you arc back to and remember the second half against Watford, where they really, really pressured us in that second half, and we managed it. Although it did look a little bit tetchy at points. You're thinking, Christ alive, they're really taking it to us here. We did manage, and I dare say Watford, given that they're not a sit back and relax and have a couple of whifters and whatever and sit and let people attack them. It was nice to see, and I do prefer to go and play teams that will attack us on the front foot rather than sit deep, because it's massively boring. I don't know about you guys, but it really, really bores me to tears. Yeah. I actually missed the first 15 of the second half because I'd fallen asleep at half time. I was that stimulated by the game last night.
I fell asleep immediately after, didn't I? I missed playing COD and everything. I woke up at 10 to 3 in the morning, like, where am I?
Missed his time with his pals. I don't know. It's, I mean, there's obviously the Farke out brigade were rife last night. I mean, I do tend to avoid Twitter at all costs nowadays because it's just a horrible, nasty place. Really, there isn't that much positivity around. But obviously, at some point you have to kind of align yourself with them and think, how much of this is on Farke, how much of this is on the players, because at the end of the day, like I've said, he will have set them up to play a specific way, knowing that Millwall will deploy a low block. So no, I was just curious as to what you two thought. In fact, actually, Jay, you haven't commented on that.
No, it's all right. I was going anywhere. I think he probably felt it was risky to go to a place like that with a team in that kind of form and away from home. Just let them have the ball because they're going to be looking to be on top anyway when they're at home, aren't they? And, it's going to have thrown the players off as well when everyone's sat in the crowd going, oh, that don't
Do you not find that compelling?
It drove me up the wall. And that was the same.
Remember them vuvuzelas?
Oh, yeah.
They're like that, isn't it? The vuvuzelas from fucking South Africa or whenever. I can't remember what year it was.
It was South Africa.
Do you remember? Oh yeah,
like 2004 or something, or 2006 or something.
Jesus, honest to God, it's like white noise. Horrible.
You see, that's not intimidating. That just makes me want to gouge their eyes out with a rusty spoon. Like, it's so painful. It's not intimidating. It's just annoying. Like,
it makes me want to set them on fire.
Yeah, and that's got nothing to do with their football. That's just the fans, Like, I don't understand that is the only thing that you can think of. London teams in general are they're just not creative in the slightest. It's like usually come on and then insert London team, Fulham, Chelsea, Brentford.
Yeah.
That's the only chant that they actually do, which is why you could, if you're in London, you can just be a fan of any London team and it makes no difference because you don't have to worry about learning any chants or anything like that because it's just
hand out pamphlets outside stadiums. Yeah. Insert name here. Here's your chant.
Come on, Fulham! Come on, Fulham!
Johnny Brown, he may be stuck in his ways, but he's got promotion 2 out of the 3 years in the Championship, getting over 90 points every time. Said it all along, will be in top 2. Actually, Johnny, you are wrong. His first season with Norwich, he didn't get promoted. So he's actually done 4 seasons.
This is giving me a terrible...
Don't you spoil my narrative, Evie.
It was full seasons.
This is giving me a terrible thought, this comment from Johnny. What if Farke's like a Championship Mourinho? What if, like, he's got a style of football that once worked, and then everything's moved on, but he's just carried on doing his thing like Mourinho did? And
because we still got 90. We still got 90 points, so it still worked.
Yeah. We did.
And it will do. I'm pretty confident. You know, I am pretty confident that we still will be in the top 2. You know, I really am. And I do. I think, you know, when you look at the teams and, you know, you just think, Christ, no one can... I mean, it's easy for me to say this and probably maybe slightly ridiculous after we've just been, you know, we've lost. I won't say we've been dicked because they didn't. They you know, they played a certain way, they beat us, but we had the better of the possession, we had the better of the shots, etc. Even though they were shit, we were still pretty much in control of the whole game. You know, I've seen people... In fact, I saw someone in the comments, actually, I forgot to start it, we're going to address it, that, you know, he said that, you know, should we get promoted, this whole squad is going to need a complete and utter overhaul. Elements of it, perhaps, but you don't get many teams in the Premier League using that low block. The teams in the Premier League are better teams than us and will want to play football against us and will want to beat us. Therefore, you know, hopefully, you know, with a couple of additions, etc., you know, next season, I mean, I know we're talking way, something that might not even happen yet, way in the future. But, you know, I think we'll perform. I mean, I know it is boring football, but I think using that sort of style will perform better in the Premier League than we did under, I won't say Bielsa, but I'll say Marsh and Allardyce and Gracia. But like I say, we're thinking too far ahead of us there.
Like, we've got this comment, right, from Scoffer here. He's saying, we'll get...
Scoff.
He's in there. We'll get top 2 because the league's absolutely terrible. We have so much quality. Right. What does the quality matter if we can't win the games? If we can't beat teams like Millwall, there's a problem.
Yeah, but the thing is, Jay, you know, other teams like, you know, your Sunderlands, etc., those that are at the top of the table, these Millwall teams, they play the same, no matter what the opposition is.
Oh, no, they do,
That is how they play. You know,
but other teams will get results.
But, you know, that's just the way, it's like I said to you in the chat
we
today.
are the biggest team, so people always up their games. And
people shit themselves,
you know, you see it in the Premier League when people go to Liverpool or they go to Man City or whatever because of the fact that they do up their games. Look at Bournemouth.
I know they do.
Bournemouth have just hammered Man City and Arsenal in back-to-back games, kind of thing. So I do think that, you know, it's a good point. We should be beating the teams with the low block, but out of the 4 games that Bielsa played against Millwall, he only beat them once. So you know, we don't have to beat Millwall in order to get promoted, and you know, it's just one of those things that that's what we'll have to do. You know, that there are other teams. The good thing about the Championship is you can rectify your mistakes very quickly because of how fast the games turn. So, you know, this will all be forgotten about if we absolutely go and thump QPR, which we after. Yes, well, let's not go there. Let's not be negative, Jay. Come on, let's be positive.
He used to call himself Positive Jay. It lasted literally a couple of weeks.
It comes and goes.
Yeah. But it's like I said to you in the chat this afternoon, Jay, you know, there are teams, you know, you look at the Premier League now, you know, Man City lost against Bournemouth, you know, Arsenal have been getting beat, you know, teams will drop points and they are the best. Man City are one of the best clubs in the world and Bournemouth have beaten them, you know.
I know.
We beat Man City with 10 men.
I'm not saying that we should win every game because
2 shots all game.
Exactly.
In that game.
You're gonna lose games. It's a Championship. It's just the nature of how we do it. It's the manner at which we do it. Burnley we should have beat. We lost the game. Sunderland we should have beat. We drew the game. Millwall arguably should have got a point out of it. We lost the game. You know, it's just we're dropping points on too many occasions for me. And yeah, it's still fairly early, but that's got to be stamped out now. We can't keep doing this through the Christmas period.
Do you think it's better to have these kind of performances and learn from them now than it is to have an absolutely scorching
100%.
couple of months and then trip up like we did last year and really struggle to kind of cap off the season like we did last year? Is it better to get it out of the way, learn from the mistakes and adapt? Not that we will adapt.
Yeah, no.
That's wishful thinking, isn't it, I suppose?
I'd rather lose games when there's time to make points up on teams. You know what I mean? You can still come from behind and put pressure on teams at the top with a good run and see them drop points. But we don't want to get in danger of being too far behind because as we saw with Ipswich last season, sometimes teams just don't go away. Same with Leicester. They had a hell of a wobble, but they still got over the line. Teams just don't go away when they're that far clear.
Teams are massively.
Oh, yeah.
And you will always get that. There's always, it's like, it's like a pendulum. It swings both ways. I understand that. In fact, speaking of which,
I'm still not convinced Sunderland will stay there.
I don't think they will because I think that they struggle against the better teams in the division. However, I say, and I can't find the thing that I asked you to put into the thing. I found
Do you want me to bring it up for you?
That's what she said. So, oh God, it's so small. That's also what she said, but not in that context.
I can see it, right? Are you working on a tiny screen?
As you can see, Leeds United right at the very top, underperforming, I think, by, what does it say? Is it 7.3? I can't read them numbers. We'll just go with the colours.
Well, the red says the red says 26 and the purple says 29.7.
So only a small amount. However, like you look at obviously Sheffield United and Sunderland, they're massively overperforming based on the current games, etc., etc. This will balance itself out. You look at the games that Sunderland have been playing and the opposition that they've been playing, all relatively low end teams. I think it was only the other week where I said I think they played 3 of the top 10 and beaten Burnley, and that were it. They'd not beaten anyone.
That you've pulled out your ass. He'll wanted to find something like that.
You what?
He'll be livid that you've pulled that out your ass. He'll wanted to find something like that.
It's still there for him to use should he ever need it. I don't think it'll change too much over the next. In fact, he might. Is he on Berardi and Coke for?
Not a clue without looking, mate. Not a clue. We don't have that kind of
QPR
looking ahead here.
Gone. So yeah, I mean, like I say, it's still early doors in it. I mean, it's going to balance itself out a hell of a lot more, I would suspect, over the next few weeks. We're not even. We're not even anywhere near December yet. When we're at the halfway point, I think we'll find ourselves in a lot better position. But given the fact that the average position of our next 11 opponents is 15th in the league, I would like to think that we can put some distance between us and the chasing pack.
There's got to be another run.
We are the chasing pack at the minute, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, mate. There's got to be another run.
Are you still feeling confident, Evie, or are you a little bit...
Have we dragged you down?
No, I'm
still... I'm being positive. It's you that's negative. I'm trying to be.
No, Jay, I have not been brought down to your level.
It's probably for the best.
Height-wise, I am a smaller person than you. So
no, she said she's small. She's only
smaller
than don't worry. We'll leave that alone.
Dinky. In fact, next to Evie, you might look normal-sized, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You might actually look, normal.
All good. It's all good.
Yeah, I still am very confident in, I'm not cocky, I'm not arrogant. I don't think that, we have a God-given right to get promoted either, which is what a lot of people think. And also a lot of people keep on with this narrative that we're so much better than everybody else. Just because we have an expensive squad doesn't mean that we have the best squad. Like you look at Chelsea, look at Man U, look at how much they have overpaid for players. It doesn't mean that you've got the best of the best kind of thing. You've got gems that you can find in the Championship or across Europe that you can get. Look at Tanaka, for instance. He's not a £3 million player kind of thing. You should at least be adding 10, 15 million pounds onto that kind of thing. So just because we have an expensive squad doesn't mean it's the best. You still can only play the opposition in front of you. And obviously they're not the best because I'm happy. I think that we've got enough. I do think that Sunderland will fall off simply because of, the expectation is maybe, they're expecting it as well. Obviously they got in the playoffs the first year they came back up from League One and then fell off a cliff last season. They were about 5th at this point last season and then finished nowhere near anywhere near the playoffs last season. So there's a lot, and it just goes to show there's a lot of football to be played because you would say that at that point I think Preston and Sunderland were in the top 6. And, where did they end up last season? So there's a lot of football left to be played, and we are going to lose more games. We are. It's just the fact that anybody can beat anybody on their day. I think in that Manchester City game, they had something like 26 shots, 15 on target, and we had two shots on target, and we beat them 2-1. So you can beat somebody that's you're superior by having fluky shots or whatever, or persistence. That's just the game. If football was played on paper, it would be a very boring sport, because you would know before you even went into the game who was going to win.
Different sport.
Yeah, absolutely. Although sometimes it feels like it might as well be on paper when I'm watching us pass around back for 10 minutes, but
I'm going to just fly through a couple of these starred messages. I hope the context, Jay, is there for everyone to see as well, because he's got a habit of starring comments that I have no idea what they are on about or what they mean or anything.
It's because you're meant to look at them while you're talking, and then if they're relevant, you can go into them, but you don't.
I do sometimes. If I see something that's relevant to the conversation, I usually flash it up, or vice versa.
Depends if you're in your flow.
Everything. I remember Carl once starred one that said "lol." Like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with that, Carl? Steve Brown says, quality of our crosses and set pieces was woeful. Our strikers have no hope when the quality of the ball is so poor. Well, yes, and the fact that obviously Perot isn't that tall as well, especially against someone like Cooper.
I loved Willie Nonto marking him.
Obliterating everything that came anywhere near him. You loved what?
I loved Willie Nonto marking him on that set piece, that corner or whatever it was.
Mate, honestly. We haven't even really spoken about the goal that we conceded.
We haven't
We've not really delved into. I mean, I know what he's ticking on, and we won't go on for too much long. But an absolute classic set piece. Should we have done better than we did?
Yes.
Do you think we dealt with it correctly?
No.
Do you want to elaborate slightly?
No.
Evie, would you like to elaborate on that?
No, not really.
No, just shit. They're all shit.
It was just a bit of a, Meslier potentially was a little bit, I don't know.
I thought Street should have done a little bit better, to be honest. I thought he'd have come out and been a bit more aggressive and at least tried to head it out or something. But
it was just, it was one of those things. It was a set piece that if there's anything that you don't do against Millwall, just don't give them a set piece. That's even if
it's hard not to win the ref like that either.
Oh no, and I think that's maybe something that we should touch on, is just how terrible. Like, I'm not saying that he cost us the game because we didn't create anything. If but a draw was probably a fairer result. You just seemed to wait for whoever was shouting the loudest, and then he would give that decision. There was a few throw-ins that we even got when we shouldn't have had it as well, that he just seemed to give it to whoever shouted for it, kind of thing. I was like, that's not how you referee. You're supposed to be in control of a game, and this is a game, considering, it's a rivalry that's been created over the last kind of 15 years. It doesn't have major history, but it's got enough in it that there should be extra vigilance when it comes to making the right calls. And, yes, every team, I don't know whether it's true or not, but you seem to get favoured decisions if you're the home team. I don't know whether that's actually, there's any actual numbers that would back up that,
I think there are stats that back that. I'm sure I've read that.
But it just didn't seem that, whenever there was a 50-50, Millwall got it, kind of thing. And there was a lot of 50-50s. But we seemed to pull out of a lot of challenges as well, which pissed me off a bit, if I'm being honest.
We did last night, yeah.
I think we were probably told to be careful by Farke after a few referees' whistle blows.
And I think that's maybe where, Gillivogie would have been good, because you're just not getting past him. He's an absolute unit, kind of thing. And I think that he could have at least done a bit of damage to maybe free up some other players to be a bit more creative. and stuff. If you can't beat them, join them. We do lack physicality. We do lack natural shithousery. Players. We don't have that, and we didn't have it really last season. We don't have it. And, the nearest thing we've got is Nonto, really, and he gets carded more often than not for any decisions.
Dan James used to smash a few people, but he's calmed down, hasn't he?
I think.
Yeah, since his Harry Potter scar.
What about that Lino as well, and the ref who totally missed Cooper heading that ball out for a corner and gave a goal kick?
Oh, yeah.
What was that about?
Classic example. It's like Sunday League linos that have to you run the line on the opposition side if you're from normally you give the opposition a flag and your team would have a flag, and decisions would go a little bit either way or whatever. But it's like oh fucking hell, I dare make a chuffing wrong decision or so against these absolute maniacs that will probably string me up at back at stands. That's what it was like, wasn't it? Some crazy decisions.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
it's not that it really mattered. It would have just been a set piece. So it didn't. That decision certainly didn't change the game.
No.
We can't score from set pieces. So
it was just another frustration, wasn't it? It was just another frustration on top of it all.
Yeah, but this weekend, hopefully, we can put that right. Viva Bielsa says could have played till next Wednesday and still wouldn't have scored. I think
Probably.
You're absolutely on the money there.
I think so.
Ian Ward says the real test is to test the next game. We need a dominant performance and a few goals, but QPR will not be easy.
No. Hopefully easier than them.
We struggled last year against QPR. We only won 1-0 at home against them. So it was another, I think Somerville scored early and we thought that was it. And that was it. We didn't get another one. So
no.
I think Sunderland drew against them as well, actually, didn't they? I don't think Sunderland beat them. I think they only played them last weekend. Like I say, but that's Sunderland. I think at home I would expect to have a better performance than we did down there. I mean, it's notoriously, I don't know whether it's a curse or a lot of people will say that we're cursed when we go to London. I think we've won out of 38 games, or our last 38 games in London, we've won 30. More with Farke. We've done better with Farke, but it's a pretty drab statistic, that, isn't it? It's a really grim stat, that.
I'd like to point out it were lovely to get that rendition of the Jimmy Savile song in that Cockney accent near the end as well. Really, really good of the Millwall fans there. I'm glad that the Football League and the FA and that are stamping out this tragedy chanting.
It's not a tragedy chant though, is it?
It kind of is, isn't it? When people got stuff done to them.
I remember once having an argument with someone. It's a while ago now. It's a couple of seasons ago when we were still in the Prem. And having an argument about it. I wasn't trying to justify anything. I says, but I think we were we'd been fined for a few chants against Brighton, a few chants against Man United, and we were getting absolutely slapped with fines left, right, and centre. I'm like, but every single team that visits Elland Road, or even when we go away, every team that we play against, you can guarantee 2 songs will be sung. Leeds are falling apart again if we lose, and Jimmy Savile is one of your own.
Yeah.
I don't mind every game Leeds will fall apart again. That's just pretty much standard.
No, I don't.
But the whole Jimmy Savile thing is kind of wearing thin. But
it is.
They're not going to do anything about it. So
no, they're not.
So one more comment from Ian Ward says, "Smarty, this team in the Premiership gets dicked most weeks." Yes, it would. Which is why I said, obviously with a couple of quality additions, etc. Hopefully starting with the number 1 position, which is Melier, because he might as well have a truffing traffic cone sat between the sticks.
Absolutely.
We don't want to be setting more records for goals conceded. So, we'll quickly cover QPR. I'll just get a couple of predictions from. I think you've already given me your prediction. How do you think it's going to go on Saturday, Evie? Do you think we're going to hand it to them, or do you think we might get a little bit of have another problem with or another low block to deal with?
I mean, we'll have to deal with a low block. I think that's just a given. But I think we'll probably. I don't like giving predictions because I always feel like I could jinx
it. It's like
it.
Cal all over again.
Oh, Cal used to do that. Cal would point blank refuse to give predictions because
he
was the sole purpose.
No way, lads.
It's Jesus, I'm not predicting anything. I can't do it. We'll lose 14-0. or whatever they used to say.
But
yeah.
I think that we come out and we get, 2 or 3, and it's just another comfortable performance. I don't think it's going to be a rocket up the backside type of performance. The only the only thing is, was it who did we play before? We played Huddersfield when we beat them 4-1 at home. What was the game before that?
God.
Was that Hull? I think that was Hull 0-0. I'm sure. I think possibly.
My memory does not go about that far.
But
Jay can't remember to bloody let his cats out for a wee on a daily basis.
Yeah, I can't.
Never mind what bloody results were from weeks or even last season. Christ. Go on, give us a prediction. Go on.
I think we'll win, and that's the nearest thing you're getting. Is that
it? Is that as far as we go?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Just gets a default 3-0.
I'm not massively confident now, especially after last night's performance, but because I've gone with a massive 4-0 win. So we'll see. We will see about that.
Have I already given one for this?
I believe so. Did I record it? You might not have done. You might have done. I don't know. Did you?
I can't remember.
I
literally can't remember. And it was yesterday.
A fresh one, and then we can refer back to
I can't, because then Gilly will say, "Oh, you can't do that. You've already given one." You know what he's like. But if I were to give a fresh one, I'm actually torn between 2-0 and 2-1. I'm torn between whether we'll concede again because we looked a bit ropey. No, go on. I'll go 2-0. I'll go 2-0.
That's the thing. That's what happens when a loss or whatever. It completely changes your mind. It's like, obviously, before we played Millwall, I was like, we're going to absolutely dick Millwall. We'll absolutely flatten QPR. Now I'm thinking, it might be 1-0.
It rocks your confidence.
It might be 0-0. It might be, but I'm sticking with my 4-0. I'm going with my 4-0.
As long as we can stop them having shots at Mellier, we're all right.
Yeah, it does depend on sneaky scoffers in the chat. So it depends if they have a shot on target or not. I think we will do. I'd like to think that we will.
I think he means them on us.
Well, that's true. I think it depends on what Farke said to the lads, and hopefully we can get a bit of a reaction. But
do you think he goes mental, Farke, or do you think he's really quiet?
No, I don't think.
I think he's just like, that's disappointing, lads. Never mind.
Maybe just like he just sits there and just stares at him like sat on a stool.
Or do you think it's? Do you remember? I'm reluctant to make this comparison because it's not meant as a direct comparison at all. But do you remember that video that you used to see that had Hitler on it going mental, and people used to put their own like subtitles to it, and then you could so basically say, but actually making words rather than noises. But I'd like him to go like that, mate. Full Hitler, just go nuts, fucking slam game plan over. Throw stuff off at walls.
Scoff said again, imagine him going mental with that voice, though. You'd just laugh. Yeah, to be fair, you wouldn't be able to take him seriously, would you? Have you seen that Warnock one when he went at Sheffield United? He said, have you come off?
Get out of my
face. I'm sick of seeing you. I'm sick of sight of you. Imagine.
Yeah.
Funny that, innit? I love that. I mean, he's a dickhead Warnock, but I do think he's funny.
He is
what
funny.
Is coming up on the Discourse of Peacocks pod then? Have you got any shows coming out lately? What can we expect to see from your podcast?
Yeah, I've got I'll be doing my review and putting that up tomorrow.
Is it pre-recorded?
Spoiler, but there's going to be quite a few negative points. I try and split it up.
Have Jay editing it for you, have you?
Program, come on, that's it.
Nope, can't be having that. That's too positive.
I try and split it up into like good, bad, and then one other category because I kind of based it off like the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I try and do it in like good points, bad points, and just another kind of topic. But nobody had a great game really yesterday. So the good list is going to be it's going to need some creative license, shall we say, to try and get some good points out of that game. If I'm honest,
I like the terminology.
When you're struggling for good points, just message Luke, and he'll tell you how everything were great, and he'll say, "Oh yeah, we did this, and this. You can't be too upset really because we created some chances." He'll give you some positives. It might be bullshit, but he'll give you some.
He likes to be positive, you know.
He does.
He's
He does.
definitely
It's
the
his
positive side of the pod. I think we'll do. I think we've bashed them enough. I think we've talked enough about this game.
I think so.
QPR at the weekend. I think Carl and Gilly are doing Berardi and Coke. That will be on Sunday morning, I would expect. But thank you both very much for joining me, Evie. I hope it's not been too bad to make your
It's been therapeutic.
It's nice to talk about it sometimes, isn't it? Get it off your chest a little bit.
She's been on BNC before. It's not a debut.
Has she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have
Long
you?
time ago, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
She was on with me and Carl, was it? Was it me and Carl?
Oh, she's probably just want to forget about that.
Yeah, no, it was you and Carl. No, but I want to forget about it because we then lost straight away after that. It was a Sunday. I'm sure it was a Sunday or a Saturday morning pod.
It's not a good omen.
Yeah,
it'll be a Sunday morning probably.
Okay.
But I'm thinking that we've already lost, so
exactly, we've got out of the way this time.
Yeah.
Or it could be just the last time we ever see you on this podcast. It depends. We will see. We will see on Saturday.
If I'm the bad luck.
Nope, she's bad. Block her. Right. Thank you, everyone else, for getting your comments in and interacting with us this evening. I'm sorry it's not been a bit more positive, and I'm sorry, but that's just Leeds United. That's just the way it goes. If you haven't done, subscribe to our channel, please, because it helps us out. And I suppose we'll see you on Sunday morning after the QPR game. Thank you both again for joining me. Take care, everyone else, and we'll see you later. Cheers.